Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the Do's and Don'ts of Sinning. My name is Matthew.
And I am Joslyn.
And good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everybody. Welcome. Thank you for listening.
Today, before we get into our topic, we're going to talk about that new movie on Netflix.
That everybody is talking about that I have yet to watch.
Yeah, so we saw it on TikTok, and it's called 365, or like 365 days or whatever. And if you were down with some 50 Shades of Grey, go watch it.
Apparently, it's better than porn.
It is better than porn.
Because it's like sensual. It's like the good part of like the storytelling of the beginning of porn with like the 50 Shades of Grey, like raunchy with the music in the background.
Yes.
So it's just like you're sitting there in the living room and you're like, now, here, on Netflix?
Yeah. I was like...
You're like, is this a foreign film?
I was watching it because I saw it all over TikTok and I was like, I'm going to watch it.
Right.
And then I never did. And then I was off one day and I was like, all right, I'm going to fucking watch it.
And you were
and
like,
so I watched it and I was like, holy shit.
Some
Oh my
porn.
God. No, it was like some hardcore porn.
Oh shit. It was like, because when
it didn't show like dick and vagina.
Yeah, but it was like boobs and like butts and stuff.
There was like little glimpses of his dick. Not the entire thing.
Oh, like when you were watching 50 Shades of Grey and you could see the base of the shaft.
Yes.
Do you remember that?
Yes.
I was in the theater with like my sister. It was her birthday, my oldest sister, and a bunch of her friends and coworkers or whatever, because I like tagged along with her plans. And like I was watching it and I was like, oh, so saucy, oh my God. And then like they pan down from his like chest, rippling abs, and then like you see bush, and then you see like a quarter of an inch of chode, and then it like flashes away. And I bumped the girl next to me. I was like, Dinah Lee. I was like, did you see that? And she was like, yes. And I was like, this is America. I was like, you go to like France, you'll see that crap, but like not here.
Yeah, it's very
Which is
risque.
also very funny because America, like their rated R stuff is like because of horror, usually not because of like sex.
Sex, right.
But you go over there and their rating system's like totally different. You could watch people have sex. Like it's Game of Thrones in movie theaters over there.
I've never seen that.
Game of Thrones?
No.
It's long. It's like very like medieval. Like if you're not into it, it's
I know
not
my mom
it.
was like, "Oh, it's really good. You should watch it."
I mean, it is a good story because
But
it talks about love, death, magic. And
I don't
shit.
really like stuff that was like has the timeline from back a long time ago.
You didn't like history class, did you?
No, I hated it.
Your history
I cheated.
teacher was hot though, wasn't he?
No.
No.
There's
that thing on TikTok that every history teacher is hot as fuck.
No, one of my teachers was she was like short with short brown hair, like a Karen Bob.
Yeah. And
it took her like 16 years to get pregnant. And then she finally got pregnant and she showed up to class wearing a shirt that said Little Miracles on the stomach.
Oh, God.
So anyway, we had that. And then she quit.
Because she was
pregnant.
Why didn't she just take maternity leave?
I don't know.
Being a teacher, you get it.
She wanted to be a stay-at-home mom, probably.
Oh, okay. Go for
Anyway, so she quit because of that. And then the next one that I had was from the school that I ended up transferring to.
Oh, fun.
And we're all pretty sure she was a lesbian because she lived with this girl that was a lesbian.
My history teacher was a lesbian. She was civic government history, but she was a lesbian.
See, our history teacher did everything.
They
did geography.
We had every teacher. We had like an AP Gov teacher. We had like a history, like history teacher. We had like civic government history, and like all the maths and all the Englishes. But I now know she's a lesbian because like she was like the volleyball coach. She wore mousse. Her hair was so crispy, like you could run your fingers through it and just like crunch it like chips. Not in like
chips.
Not in the bad way, but in the way like maybe one less pump would do her good. And she had like I would say like inch curls, like spirals. Mm-hmm. But everyone was like, she's gay. She wore jeans, she wore hoodies, she was a lesbian. And then like 2 or 3 years later, I was going to Old Chicago in town and for trivia or whatever, because I like trivia.
That you're never going to take me to?
Correct, because she's an idiot. She was like, what's the name of the volleyball on Castaway? And it took her like 10 minutes to think it out.
I was like, Spalding!
And she played volleyball in high school. She should have known that it was the brand. But I was going to trivia or whatever, and some girl was a lesbian, obviously, and we were talking about being gay, and she was outside smoking, and I was standing with her. And she was like, yeah, I ended up moving here because like my girlfriend and me, she moved out here to become a history teacher and like blah, blah, blah. And I was like, history teacher where? I was like, because I went to high school here. And she was like, I don't want to tell you now. And I was like, what do you think I'm going to do? Go to school and out her?
You're like, I'm gay.
Right? I was like, what am I going to go out her? And she was like, oh, her name's like Mary. And I was like, her last name is, I don't care, Combs. And she was like, yeah. And I was like, that was my history teacher. I was like, knew she was a lesbian. I was like, I knew it. She was chill. She was like the butch volleyball lesbian. She was great.
But our class was ruthless with the history teacher. We made her cry like 10 times.
The pregnant one or the new one?
No, the new one.
Oh my god. What was wrong with her? Why'd you have to make her cry?
Bitch.
Oh, okay, that's fine. There was
I don't even remember her name.
I had another history teacher, I think later in the high school. She was like 8 months showing. And I remember I had my backpack on the bag and I turned around like this and she was like right up my ass and I elbowed her right in her stomach. Like I put both of my elbows out to like turn to get my bag and she was like right behind me. Like if I did that and I hit you, you're up my ass.
Yeah.
Like, and I elbowed her and I was like, oh my god, I'm so sorry, because she was such a bitch. And everyone was like, oh my god. And I was like, first of all, she's not going to lose her baby from that, or the human race would be gone.
Yeah, for
she's
real.
fine.
Anyways, today we're going to talk about mental health, which is one of my favorite subjects, personally.
Yes, love talking about it. I love when people come up to me with questions about mental health and stuff like that, because I feel like I've had a lot of shitty things go wrong in my life that I feel like I'm a good like input on it, because I can like tell my story and people like it helps them.
Yeah,
and that's usually what I do. Is I usually just tell them, I'm like, oh, this happened to me, this is what I did, this is how long it took, and now I have PTSD from it. And they're like, awesome.
Yeah, cool.
Right? They're like, cool.
So my cousin's wife, after she had her second baby, she had really bad postpartum depression.
That's terrible.
And that's like super common, right? But a lot of people don't talk about it.
Yeah, because they just think it's, because they're like, you have the baby now, why are you sad?
Yeah,
it's like, it's different.
It is, yeah. And it's, I don't know, like some people get it with every kid, some people don't get it at all. Like my sister didn't get it at all.
Right, or you get it with like your first kid and then you get over it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So like even Sarah dealt with postpartum depression after her daughter. Anyways, so my cousin's wife, she was dealing with it, and she knows that I like have struggled with mental health and everything, and that I like am on medication and I was going to therapy and stuff. So she like asked me, she was like, what do you do? Where do you go? Whatever. And I told her, I was like, yeah, I go to this place down by Cimarron, and it's like a pharmacy, a psychiatrist place, and a therapy place all in one. I was like, they take Medicaid, they take like a lot of different insurances, they like help you out, you see them twice, like however often you need to for therapy, but like psychiatry wise, you see them like twice a year. That's awesome. Like every 6 months and stuff. Yeah. And so I helped her with it, and anyway, right, I guess she got to the bottom of it. I don't know, I didn't really hear back. Right,
but yeah, like if if you're ever dealing with anything, fully reach out to like your friends and family. Because there's got to be someone in your life, like, even though if you feel down and stuff, you're like, I'm all alone. You're like, not saying nowadays, but like nowadays, everybody's had something they've gone through.
Most likely.
Like, even if you feel like suicidal and like your best friend seems the happiest in the world, she could have like anxiety or whatever. So just like reach out to anybody and just like have an open conversation, because like who's to say, like she asked you because she knew, but like who's to say your other cousin or sister didn't know you were going through shit, and then you opened up to her and you were like, then you opened up to her and then you're both getting help. Right. Because like that's the thing, is people never want to reach out and get help.
And then like it's super frustrating at times because I struggle with mental health so seriously. Yeah. And it's like hard to wrap my head around that there are people out there who are not mentally ill. Right. So like my sister, for example, literally like she has bad days, but not like bad mental health days.
Yeah, just like normal people bad days.
Yeah, where she just wakes up. She's just like a little pissy or something like that, and like things just aren't going her way. Right. And like whatever, work sucked or whatever, and it's just a bad day for her. And she's never had like, she's never wanted to self-harm. She's never had to be on medication.
Right. She's never woken up and like the sky's literally gray and you're like...
Yeah, no. So like her bad days are like normal bad people days, and my bad days are like I don't get out of bed until 5 p.m. I get up to eat, and then I go back to bed. Yeah.
Right? And then there's there's people who are too far gone like you. Just kidding.
Really?
Yeah, because I don't even think, it's a spectrum again. Like, there are normal people at, 0. There's, me and, common people who are at, a 5 or a 4. And then there's, you at, a 7.
I would say, an 8.
Like an 8.
Yeah.
And then there's, people who,
I was at one point, I was, 9, borderline 10.
Yeah.
Because, so, when I realized that something was, wrong when I was, 14 years old.
Oh, for sure.
Because I was sad.
Right.
I was so fucking sad. And I, talked to my grandma about it. And then I talked to my dad about it. And my dad was like, granted, now my dad and I have a really good relationship. But back in the day, we did not. We've come a long ways and we worked on that really well.
Right.
But anyways, he was like, you don't need to be on pills, blah, 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 whatever. And then one day I came home from school and I told him, I was like, I need to be on medication and I need to be in therapy.
Right.
And so we went to therapy. He checked me into therapy. My stepmom, God bless her soul, she took me every single Wednesday. She took off work early every single Wednesday to drive me up to the Springs.
To Cedar Springs?
No, here.
No, to Cedar Springs.
No.
Here. Oh, okay. That's the big one.
That is a mental health facility.
I don't know if they do multiple things.
No. That's where you go when you're going to kill yourself.
I mean, yeah.
Anyways.
I don't know if they do multiple things.
I went up here to a therapist. And she would literally sit in the waiting room for the 2 hours that I was in there.
Right.
And go get me Starbucks.
Yeah, that's a 4-hour day.
Yeah.
The drive, the wait, the talking.
Yeah. And then she would go get me Starbucks for when I got out. And I went every single Wednesday.
That's awesome. For how long?
3 years.
Oh, wow. Good for her.
Yeah.
Good for you for getting help.
Yeah, for real. And then when I went to therapy, I was talking to my therapist about it. And I was like, I for real need to be on medication because I know something is not right.
Right.
And she had to tell my dad and my stepmom that I need to be on medication before they listened to me and actually put me on medication.
Yeah.
So
because it is hard. I bet I'm not an adult. Well, I am an adult. But I'm not a dad or a mom with a kid that's young. Because how old were you? 13, 14?
14.
Yeah, that's at the borderline of should not should you trust your kid, but
they're still doing things that they shouldn't be doing.
Exactly. Yeah. That's at the line where it's maybe they are feeling depressed. Maybe they are like this. And even as a 12 or 10-year-old, kids' emotions are still valid. But I feel a lot of parents are oh, they're still young. They don't know yet.
Right.
And I heard
or maybe
somebody.
It's just a phase. Or...
Yeah, exactly. Which is kind of hard because kids go through phases.
They do.
They hormones, puberty, high school, fucking middle school sucks.
Yeah, yeah.
Shit just feels bad. And if a kid, if I feel if my kid, if I have a kid and they come home one day and they're hey, I want to can we talk or can I go to therapy and stuff? I'd of course be oh, of course. If you feel you need it, let's do it. And if by 3 sessions and if they end up just being bullied at school, solve it, whatever.
Yeah, but
they're
at least
normal.
you were
exactly. But I feel a lot of parents even nowadays they're oh, they're still young, they don't know yet.
Right.
But somebody on something a video or a podcast was every kid at every age has valid feelings.
Yes.
Because they are feeling them for some reason. They're just not making it up.
Right.
If the kid's I'm depressed, they're depressed for some reason.
Right.
So rather they're depressed because their friend just moved, or they're depressed because they feel depressed because something's wrong with them.
Right.
They're valid for everything. Just like a baby cries, they're hungry, they need to be changed. They're cold, they're hot. From infancy to adulthood, every emotion's valid because they're not making it up.
Yeah. Really quickly, I freaking hate it because I struggle with mental health so strongly that I hate it when I go on social media and somebody's I'm so depressed today.
I hate that.
It doesn't fucking work like that.
No.
I promise it doesn't work like that. I've been depressed since I was 14.
Literally.
I wake up depressed every day. It's just some days are better than others.
Right, exactly. I hate when there was some woman posted she had OCD or whatever, and Target had a shirt that said obsessive Christmas disorder or whatever, and the woman on the shirt was hanging ornaments vigorously or whatever, and she was I can't believe I'm being marginalized.
Yeah.
And I was valid, but calm down. It's not it was the middle ground where it's don't get triggered, woe is me, but it's also that's a serious mental disorder.
I don't
like
know.
you shouldn't, like I was in the middle ground because I was like, it's not that big of a deal. But if they did like PTSD and they were like postpartum like Christmas disorder or whatever triggered, like that's kind of triggering.
Yeah.
Because like, but yeah, it was like I was in the middle ground because she was acting like a Karen in the post, but it also was like OCD is very valid. Like it not ruins people's lives, but like from
Definitely
having
takes them over.
yeah, but having to like clean your apartment every day.
That's not what OCD is like. You
No,
know that, right?
I know, from cleaning your apartment every day to like having to lock the doors 10 times
Yeah, okay,
before you
okay.
go to bed.
I was
yeah,
gonna say
because some people, yeah,
because people like organize a pen by color.
yeah, and they're like, I'm so OCD.
So OCD.
Yeah,
but it's
and
not,
I mean, like at the low
it
levels,
is a little bit.
like
Yeah.
organization, and even at the high levels, like their rooms are like that. Their
Yeah.
rooms are straight pens and stuff, but
Yeah.
that's not the only thing.
But it's also like turning the light switch on and off 15
Right.
times so
Have
that they
not-
know their family is safe.
right, not have like wearing gloves, not touching people. Like
Yeah.
people have like OCD about germs, OCD about like clothing textures or whatever,
Yeah.
haircuts. Like some people have to like cut their
I
own
watch
hair.
a lot of True Life. Did you ever
Yes,
watch
I love True Life on MTV.
I wish that was still a thing.
Honestly, because it was very like
Very
it was,
informative.
like not culture shock, but like it was a cultural reset.
Yes, yes.
Because like I would watch like thruples, like kinks, like
Yeah.
OCD.
There was trans people on there.
yeah, and like
and that was, like,
mothers
back
and
in
stuff.
the day.
That
That
was
was,
like
like, what?
early 2000s, like,
Like
2006,
2006. I was gonna say 2006.
which is very shocking. But yeah, I wish that was still a thing because
Maybe
they would
that's why
talk
our
about
generation
everything.
is so accepting.
Because
for the
we
most
watched
part.
that crap on MTV and we
Yeah.
learned. Yeah, I feel so too. But I also feel like because we were not sandwiched, but we were right after so much like racism, like objectification, like
That it
we
was like
see-
bound for us.
that
to
it was
be
bound
changed.
for us to change and stuff because like, and yeah, it's like the mentality and like astrology came out and like this came out and like this came out and that. And then we saw the fact that our older generation was being like racist, but we made a friend with a black kid. We were like, this is wrong.
Right.
And then like us as like a millennial, I would say like 35 max to like kids now,
Yeah.
like are like, we need to change. We're like
Yeah.
the movement of change. That's what, and like technology and stuff.
Oh,
yeah, like
technology
MTV
for sure.
being like global citizens and stuff, because like my parents or whatever like don't have any friends outside of the United States because why would they? But I have people because of the internet and stuff.
Right, like
and
Mimi and whatever. I
Yeah.
mean, plus the fact that you like went to London
Yeah.
itself. But like, I've never been out of the country, and if I wanted to go make friends with somebody in fucking
It
Switzerland,
would
I
be
could.
easier
Yeah.
instead of like when like if our parents in generations before us went to stuff at our age, they would have been like that. But like not now, like
Right.
us being 20 somethings and then being like 60, 50 somethings, they couldn't do it because it's just not in their like forte.
Right.
Um,
But anyways, so the whole like when I went to therapy thing when I was
Yeah.
like 14 or whatever. So I did that for like 3 years, right? Well, to be honest, I went to therapy up until I was 20. I didn't stop at
Good for
all. I was going the entire time.
right.
So that's like a long time.
Right. And therapy is really expensive sometimes.
Yeah,
Like, good.
luckily I had insurance and stuff like that, but
Right.
still, it's like time consuming and takes a lot of effort and stuff
Yeah,
like
but
that.
it's also super worth it because like you can't fix anything in like 3 therapy visits. It's sessions and
It's a
sessions
long
because that's
time.
what psychology and like therapy is about, is like not breaking down walls, but like
Kind of, yeah.
breaking down walls, digging deeper. Because like on the first day they're like, oh, how are you feeling? And then you're like sad, and then like 2 weeks later they're like, oh, so when you were 5 you got punched in the stomach. And then like deeper down your
Yeah.
parents were like
So, like,
this when you were a kid. So you just dig deeper, figuring the
Yeah.
roots of reasons.
So one of
and
my
stuff.
favorite therapists that I've had several, but one of my favorite therapists that I had was the first one that I went to when I was like a child. And she would be like, what are you feeling right now? And I'd be like, I'm fucking pissed.
Right.
Like, I am pissed. And she'd be like, what's a better word? Like let's take anger. Because like, okay, so the way she explained it was like, anger is a valid emotion that you're feeling.
Yeah,
However, 99% of the time when you're feeling angry,
it's being fueled by something.
it's because you're either hurt
yeah,
or
jealous.
yeah,
Or like envious.
yeah.
Or,
She said that like anger is like an umbrella emotion. So like you can just be like, I'm angry, and you don't really have to explain why you're angry. But like she would pull out this paper that had like every single emotion you could ever fucking think of, and she'd be like, here, take this, go through them, and then tell me what feelings you're feeling if you take anger off the table. And then I'd be like, I'm hurt. And like it all came down to because like my home life with my dad was like so terrible that I was just like so angry at him for the way that he was treating me and stuff like that. And so it was just like, it was easy to use like being mad as an escape, because when you're mad, you don't have to explain why you're mad. Because if you're like, and it also like feels
pissed, because when you're like hurt and stuff like that, you like, some people do act like they hurt, like they're like not submissive, but they're like sheltered, they're like turning themselves in or whatever, and that's like hurt, like manifested. But most people manifest being hurt as being upset and angry. Yeah,
and it's also a thing too, is that people don't like feeling vulnerable.
100%.
People hate feeling vulnerable.
Yeah, everybody wants to feel strong. They want to feel like tall, big. Like they don't want to feel like they can be attacked. They don't want their core to be like vulnerable. Right.
And so for a long time, which granted I have bipolar disorder, and that generally comes out in anger. Right. And like with me anyway, because like other people it comes out in like mania, which I do have bursts of mania sometimes. Not so much now that I'm on like stable medication and stuff, but I still get like bouts of mania, because it's not going to completely like erase your mental health disorder,
because like the brain is intense, like they don't know anything about it.
It's just going to like curb it to make it so that it's not as intense.
Yeah, and then you're like throughout your life you're learning tactics of like how to calm yourself down, or you're getting used to the medication and how to like fuel
cognitive behavior therapy,
and how to fuel the right side, because like when you're young and you don't know how to like control your emotions and stuff like that, and like you fuel the bads because you're like, I'm upset, I'm hurt, I don't know how to like not feel that way. You learn that through, sadly, trauma and stuff like that. Like after you go through like abuse or like neglect, whatever, you learn how to fuel the positive side to get yourself out of the dark.
Right. So then like at one point I went to the mental hospital, and I was there for like a week or something, because I like they considered it attempted suicide because of how many times I cut myself, because I never was like, I'm gonna down this whole bottle of pills, I'm gonna drink some bleach. It was nothing like that. It was just like, it was more of like, it wasn't, I want to kill myself. Yeah. It was more feelings of like, why was I born? This earth would be better without me. Right. Like, I don't understand why I'm here. Stuff like that. Right. Or like, my family would be better off without me. Right. Stuff like that. And so anyways, those are just like feelings of suicide. It's not like suicidal thoughts. Yeah. So anyway, I cut myself like fucking 78 times or something like that. Right. And then I was like, was having really bad bipolar mania. At this point, I wasn't on medication for bipolar disorder. Right. And because this whole entire time, I was just being solely medicated for depression. Mm-hmm. And I was on Zoloft, and the highest milligrams you can go for Zoloft is 200, and I was on 180. Jesus. And it was doing nothing. Yeah. So anyway, and
because like you weren't like, because aren't antidepressants uppers basically? Mm. Or are they like more like stabilizers? Yeah, because I was thinking, I was like, well, if you're just being treated for like depression, it's like, but like, because depression's like down in my mind, and then bipolar is like up and down, so you need to like balance all of the levels.
Exactly, right?
So since you were just balancing depression, your bipolar disorder was still not balanced.
Exactly, yeah. And so like, I have bipolar disorder and bipolar depression. Right. So like, my depression is like up and down, and sometimes my depression gives me mania, right, and then sometimes my bipolar disorder gives me mania, so it's like we don't fucking know which one is going on. Right. So anyways, I was there, and they like evaluated me. They had a psychiatrist there. They evaluated me, and they were like, you have bipolar disorder. That's why you're feeling like you're feeling, whatever, everything like that. And they put me on Latuda, which is like what I'm still on now. Right. And it's only been upped once, right? So I was on 20 milligrams, and now I'm on 40. Right. And that's the most that it's been upped, because
good pill.
It gives you tremors.
How exciting.
which I have a little bit of tremors from being on it for so long.
Yeah.
But it's not like anything severe. I'm not like, you know what I mean?
You're
It's
just
not,
like, yeah, like maybe just like you're,
It's just kind of, it's more of like, you know, if you like go a really long time without eating and you're just kind of like that.
Yeah, like anxiety shakes kind of thing.
That's
or like
just basically what it's like. And it's not all the time. It's just sometimes here and there.
Which I mean, every medication has side effects.
Yeah, which like if I have mild tremors from something that changed my life.
Yeah, I can deal with it.
I can, yeah.
Do you stay on the medication, like you don't like go on and off it or whatever?
No.
Oh, okay, yeah, because like I know like vaguely of some medications where if you take it for like ever, your body like it'll stop working.
Yeah, so that's when you just change your medication.
Okay, if it does, but sometimes like your body just can take Latuda for decades.
Yeah, exactly. So
that's good because like mental health, not mental health, the mental health medications are like 1 in a million.
Yes.
Because like Latuda will work, but like Zofran won't. Like this one will, this one won't. So if like you find one that works, and then like after 2 years you go crazy, that sucks.
So I was on Zoloft and I got to the 200 mark, which is the highest you can go on Zoloft, and it still wasn't doing anything.
Oh, shit.
And so anyway, I did that. They took me off of that. And then they put me on Latuda, 20 milligrams, and that changed the bipolar, but I was still sad. Mm-hmm. So then they put me on Lamictal, which is a mood stabilizer. And those two, Lamictal and Latuda, worked for like a year, almost 2. And then I started having feelings of like wanting to cut myself, and I was like a little bit suicidal. And those type of feelings were starting to creep back into my life. And so... luckily, because like I've been in and out of therapy for so long, and I've had so much CBT, and
what's that?
Cognitive behavioral therapy.
Oh, okay.
It's just basically giving you tactics on how to deal with your emotions before you let those emotions out. Right. So it's just coping mechanisms.
Yeah. If you wake up and you're having a bad day, make yourself your favorite breakfast.
Exactly.
Just very like simple things.
Yeah. Because when it comes to mental health, it has to be simple things, because 99% of the time, people with depression and other mental health issues, they don't feel the motivation to do anything. Yeah, at all. Let alone fucking coping mechanisms when you're having a bad day. Right. So it has to be simple. Yeah,
very simple.
So,
like if you don't want to get out of bed, watch like your favorite stupid watch Pocahontas. Takes 2 seconds. That's like the super
like give yourself the moment
simple.
To do something.
Right. That can like build you up enough
and then
to take a shower.
Exactly. Yeah. And so anyways, I was on those two for a long time, and then I was at my last job, which was part of it, because environmental impacts your mental health 100%, depending on who you're around and what you're doing and stuff like that. And so anyway, I went and contacted my psychiatrist. Like, I made the move to go and do it instead of waiting. Nice. Because I knew something was off. Right. Like, it was...
And you had to get ahead of it.
I did. You do. You really do. Like, if you just, like, let it sit and fester, it just gets fucking horrible. Right. And then it becomes uncontrollable.
Right. It, like, gets too big in the back of your mind, and then it just, like, dam breaks, and then you're screwed.
Exactly. And then it's going to take significantly more work to fix that if you let it sit and don't do anything about it. It's going to take significantly more work to build yourself back up to where you were if you would have just tackled it by yourself and recognized that something was wrong, which it's going to take a long time for people to do that. Exactly. The only reason I can do that is just because I've been dealing with it since I was 14 and I'm now 23. Right. So, I mean, whatever. So anyway, I went and talked to my psychiatrist and everything like that. And I was like, I'm sad. I'm sad. I'm feeling suicidal. I want to cut myself again. Like, I need to get back in therapy and I need to do more stuff or whatever. And then she put me on Wellbutrin, and which is one of my favorite medications that I've ever tried.
You're like, delicious.
Because I'll tell you why. Because 1, it helps my mental health. It really does. Right. And 2, it helped me stop smoking cigarettes, because that's another thing that it does. It's
side effect of doesn't want you to smoke. That's interesting.
So a lot of times when people want to stop smoking cigarettes, they put them on Wellbutrin. Interesting. Because it's like another thing that it can help aid in. So it helped with
Which makes sense, because like withdrawal seems a lot like bipolar-ish, like mental health issues. So it's kind of interesting.
So
Same
it helped
centers
me,
of the brain, probably.
Yeah. So it helped me with my mental health. It helped me stop smoking cigarettes. and it curbs your appetite. So I lost some weight when I went on Wellbutrin and stuff like that. But anyway, so now I'm on 3 pills that I have to take every single day. I take 2 in the morning and 1 at night. And I have to do that for the rest of my life, which sucks. I was talking to one of our friends about it, and that was like when I first met him. And I was talking to him about it, and he was like, I would have never guessed. And I was like,
you're like, thank you.
I know I was like, thank you. I've done a fuck ton of work to get where I'm at right now.
Agreed. Whenever I tell people about like the domestic violence and like mental abuse that I went through and stuff, like I remember I was in college and they were like, oh, you never talk about your significant other. I was like, because I'm single for life. And then they were like in the military, so I told them about like my past and stuff, and they were like, I would have never guessed. And I'm like, thank you, I've come a long way.
Yeah,
like
it takes a lot of work, and for someone to say that, it's like one of the biggest compliments that you can like actually receive. Like a mental health compliment.
Right, exactly. Yeah.
But
not saying like having mental health is bad.
No.
It's just because it shows so much.
Yeah,
and
so
it's
much
like,
work and progress.
And it is hindering on your life. Like when you have mental health issues, you feel like shit. And you feel like something's wrong with you. Like it's like a crack in your face. But when people can't see it, then you're like, oh my God. Like I feel normal. Yeah, in a sense.
So I was telling him about it, and he was like, oh, I would have never noticed. I was like, oh, thank you. And I was telling him about all the medications and stuff that I'm on and how I have to take them for the rest of my life, which I've come to grips with. It's
honestly,
fine.
Yeah.
And
rather do that than have like months of terrible life.
Yeah. Right. And so some people choose not to be medicated, which is fine. To each their own, 100%. I just know that my conditions are so bad. I don't want to use that word, but they're so bad that the shit that I deal with like is just so up there on the scale of like in terms of how intense it is, that if I was unmedicated, my life would just be horrible.
Right. And who's to say when you're like 35, you
right.
could like wean down and stuff, because like, yeah, it kind of like the brain doesn't change, but you could gain like more tactics and stuff that maybe you're like, oh, I could probably have this. And then maybe even go off of it when you're older or whatever, because like who's to say?
Yeah, that's 100% gonna happen.
And then who's to say like when you hit 25, it just hits you and like you become like you need to be medicated or you need to start going to therapy.
Like there's people out there that literally like are in their 30s and they take 1 Prozac a day and fucking everything's fine. You know what I mean? Some people are just like that.
Right.
Like
some people need more medication as they go through life.
Exactly. Yeah. And it's just hit or miss, because mental health is hit or miss. And so I was explaining that to him, and he was like, well, that kind of sucks. And the way that I explain it to people that maybe don't really struggle with mental health issues, because people that do struggle with mental health issues, they understand where I'm coming from, because 99% of the people that I associate with have mental health issues and they are medicated for it. Anyway, I told him, I was like, I would rather take 3 pills a day for synthetic happiness than not be happy at all.
Exactly.
Or have 3 days out of the year where I feel legitimately happy.
Literally. Because
right now with the medications that I'm on and everything, I feel happy almost every single day. Right. And then like I go through phases and shit like okay, so what's a bad mental health day look like for you? Because I don't really have, I mean, I do have bad mental health days, but when I'm having a bad time mental health wise, it usually lasts for like a month.
Yeah, because you just feel like off for the month. Like, yeah. For me, since I'm at like a 3 or a 4 on the scale, I'd say usually it's just like past trauma just can't get out of my head or whatever. Like I'll wake up, I'll like flip through, and like a lot of mine is like insecurities, like body dysmorphia, like personality stuff, and like trauma from like ex-husband and boyfriends and stuff. So like usually I'll like wake up, I'll be like sitting on like the toilet or like in the shower, and I'll be scrolling through like TikTok or Instagram and seeing like couples and stuff, and then I'll feel like swells of like loneliness and like being alone, and then like the trauma of why like I feel this way, and like how like the abuse and like the divorce and stuff just like stays in my mind all day. And yeah, like as I'm driving to work or whatever, like music will be playing. It's like Sam Smith or like Adele or some bullshit. And I just get like wells of it and stuff. And it'll just be like overwhelming, like loneliness and just like whatever. And then usually that'll make me go on like dating sites. for like validation and like compliments and stuff, and 9 times out of 10 it doesn't fucking work.
No.
And then it makes it worse, and then like I just feel more lonely and more like sad and just like alone.
Yeah, I feel alone pretty frequently. I watched a TikTok last night. I got home and I was sitting at my table eating some food, and
watermelon with salt.
it's not salt.
What is it?
Tahini.
Oh, okay.
Have you ever
That sounds
had that?
better. Yeah. I
It's
was like,
really good.
because I know people eat like apples and watermelon with salt, so I was like,
And cantaloupe.
girl, to each your own. But then
No,
I
it's
was like,
tahini.
oh, okay, that's good.
Yeah, it's really good. Tahini is good on like mango and pineapple too.
Oh yeah,
You
that's
should try
good.
it. It's
yeah,
really good.
I've had it on pineapple or on mangoes because that's what like a lot of Hispanic people do.
Yeah, yeah. So anyways, I was sitting there and I saw this TikTok, and it's this trend going around where people in relationships, they're usually heterosexual couples. I haven't seen a gay couple do it, but then again, I'm not on the gay side of TikTok.
Yeah, I've probably seen it.
So anyway, it's like, babe, I feel like you could have been nicer to me today. Mm-hmm. Have you seen those ones?
Yeah, I've seen ones that are like more funny. It's like, babe, you were really mean to me today, and he was like, what?
Yeah.
What do you mean?
Yeah.
How?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I came across one
as like a joke.
Yeah, and so the girl was the one that was like recording, making the TikTok, and her boyfriend was sitting there with like in his little gaming station or whatever, and she was like, babe, I felt like you could have been nicer to me today. And he like takes his headphone and puts it back, and he was like, what'd you say? And she was like, I feel like you could have been nicer to me today. And he was like, and he like leans into the mic and he's like, all right guys, I'm gonna get off, I'll see you tomorrow. And then he takes his headphones off and he stands up and he goes, I'm sorry baby, do you want to talk about it? And I literally started crying.
Yeah,
because I've never had that.
Right.
And that's sad.
Right, that is. And having like hopefully it was true, but having like a boyfriend like that, or like a significant other that like care, like, I mean, every couple should care for each other, but like that's like a high level of care, like to like even just be like, hey, I feel sad, and then like like them stopping their day and being like, hey, what's up, let's chat. Like that is very nice.
It's just like such a high level of communication.
Mm-hmm. Oh, 100%.
And like,
yeah,
I've had good communication in relationships that I've been in, but not that good.
But to be that in sync, that like her saying that, he's like, I need to talk to her. Yeah.
And he like literally leaves what he's doing.
Exactly.
And he's like, baby, let's get to it.
Right, let's figure it out. Yeah.
But no, I get like severe feelings of loneliness. That's why I started taking pictures of myself crying on my camera roll, so that one day when I meet my husband, I can be like, look, this was me every single time I drank alcohol. Because like, I mean, alcohol's a depressive, obviously. Yeah. And I probably shouldn't drink.
Right. Which a lot of people don't get. Like, she, like, somebody we know, Joslyn was telling her that, like, alcohol was a depressant, and she, like, couldn't believe it. Do you remember that conversation?
Yeah.
And, like, it's, like, alcohol's a depressant, but it's also social lubricant. Yes. Because you lose anxieties and, like, not confidence, but, like, insecurities and stuff. But when you lose those, you're at highest risk to get hurt.
Right.
So, like, yeah, you're losing them. You're like, oh, let me go talk to all these boys. But, like, you are drinking, you talk to 3 boys and they all shoot you down. You're at negative 15 right now. Right. Like, you take 5 points for each hit down. But if you weren't drinking and you were at, like, a 9 or a 10 or whatever, just chilling at, like, life, you would get knocked down. Then you'd be like, oh, I feel bad. But when you're on alcohol, when you're drinking alcohol and it's a depressant, you get shot down so much. That's why, like, at the end of the night, if you're single and you were trying to, like, mingle or whatever, you feel worse.
Yes, 100%. That's me every time.
Yeah, you feel worse off than if it was just a normal day and you were, like, scrolling through Tinder, like, messaging people and people weren't responding or unmatching you. You'd be like, oh, whatever. Makes me feel a little sad. But if you were drinking and you were doing the same thing, you feel awful.
Right.
And that's how you know it's a depressant.
That is, like, me every single time.
And nobody takes sip. Like, nobody's drinking by themselves at home. They're like, I'm having a good time.
I never do that.
No, they're drinking alone because they're like, wow. Today was terrible.
Yeah,
you don't go home and you're like, I need a beer. Today was great.
No,
absolutely not.
When it's a bad day.
Exactly.
So when I day drink with Sarah, or like when we go to Copperhead or something,
right?
we like start drinking maybe at like 1 or 2 in the afternoon.
Right.
And if we're just drinking at my house, then we drink until like 9 or 10, and then she goes home and whatever. And if we're at Copperhead, then we are out until like 2 in the morning.
Exactly, because you're out.
But either way, I live alone.
Mm-hmm.
I don't have a significant other.
Right. I have a dog, but that doesn't help.
Yeah, which, like, I mean, I tell her all the time, kind of like whenever you, like, get a divorce and it's just you and your kid, and you're like, well, buddy, it's me and you for life.
Literally.
I like
You tell Indica that?
I really do tell Indica that. I'm like, I tell her too. I'm like, you know what? Even though your daddy was so mean to me, I'm so glad I was with him so I could get you. You
right,
know, stuff
exactly.
Like that. Anyways, when we're done drinking and she leaves and I'm left alone in a huge empty house by myself with nobody to talk to because it's late at night.
Exactly.
And I literally like cry myself to sleep.
Right.
Because it sucks.
Right, it does suck.
It's very lonely. It's a lonely life for Joslyn.
Honestly, agreed. Yeah, and it's hard, especially when like times like the middle of the night or random midday stuff where you're like, I'm having an off day, I want to get lunch with somebody, and then like everyone's at work, and
just
it's
like
not. And it's nobody's fault. It's just like it always happens at depression hits you at the worst time in your life.
100%.
All the time, and like you could be having good months. It could be like July. Be beautiful outside, and you wake up and you're like, I feel like shit.
Yeah.
And then you try to like hang out with a bunch of friends and everyone's at work or everyone's already busy, and then then it just keeps docking you down.
Yeah.
And that's when like the CDS, what is it? CBT helps a lot, because then you're like, no, fuck that. Let me go hiking. Let me go to my favorite coffee shop. Let me watch my good movie. Let me cook myself a dinner.
Yeah.
Because like it takes so much to be happy alone.
Yes.
And like not many people can.
No.
And then even like the people can, like I consider myself happy alone, but like 9 times out of not 9 times out of 10, like 6 times out of 10, I'm like, I wish I had somebody with me. But like it's great because like like I went through a divorce, I went through all of that. I felt alone with somebody.
Me too.
And that's the worst feeling.
That's worse than being actually alone.
Right, when you're laying in bed with your significant other. And when I was laying in bed with my husband, I was like, I feel more alone than if I was literally laying alone.
Right.
And then that kind of helps. And then when I went to London all by myself, that helped so much. Because
so
I was alone. Like I had Vivian, I knew over there from the internet, and then I went to Switzerland and met Nils. But like I was 100,000 miles away from everybody I knew, and even though I was in one of the most densely populated cities in the world, I was like alone, but I didn't feel lonely.
Right.
Which was so great. Like I feel like I wouldn't, like with everything that you go through is meant to happen in a way. So I was like, I'm so glad I went to a foreign country alone for a month. I would love to do that. Because it was so like much growing. It helped me like realize that like being alone doesn't make you lonely.
Yeah.
Other things make you lonely.
It's especially hard when you have like already have mental health situations that you're dealing with, and then like you feel alone on top of that, because like depression already makes you feel so isolated from the world.
100%.
That when you're having feelings of loneliness in terms of like relationship wise, it's just like one thing on top of another. Exactly. So that is like these days, like back in the day when I was like 18 to 20 maybe, my depression was stemmed from like, what am I gonna do with my life? I feel like I have no purpose. I need to get this done. And it was more of like stress-induced depression. However, now when my depression hits, it's because I realize that I'm 23. Every relationship that I've been in has failed. Right. And part of that is probably my fault. And every single person has cheated on me. I probably won't be married for a long time. Right. And that's like hard to deal with. But, so like a couple months ago, I don't remember how long ago that was. That was when I was like telling you that I was like, dude, my depression's really bad. Yeah. It was like what, April? May? Maybe, yeah. April or May. I can always tell that my depression is getting like significantly worse when I stop doing simple things, right? Like we talked about simple things.
Right, like making your bed. You always make your bed in the morning, and you were like, I haven't made my bed in like a week.
Yeah. And it, like, the realization of, like, depression, people think that, like, when I was talking about, like, oh, it's cute and trendy to be depressed type thing, because people are like, oh, I'm sad.
Yeah,
and
because everyone wants to fit into some group or
yeah,
whatever. Yeah.
and when people consider depression just sadness, it's definitely not just that. Depression does make you feel sad, but so, like, that entire month, I make my bed every single day.
Right.
And I didn't make my bed for an entire month.
Right.
I didn't shower for like 2 weeks. Didn't wash my hair for 2 weeks. I either stop eating basically completely,
Right.
or I overeat and then gain a bunch of weight and then I feel worse.
Right, exactly.
And then it's just like, I'm not doing dishes, I'm not cleaning my house, and I'm isolating myself. I don't text people back.
Right.
I, like, don't go see my family as often as I should or whatever. And during that month, I, like, went over to Sarah's house, and her and Emily were, like, getting ready, and I went over there because that was when I was still going to the vape shop that
Right.
Tristan and I were going to, and I will not go alone because knowing my luck, I would run into him.
Right.
So if I have somebody there, at least, like, if I run into him, it'll
You can buffer it.
yeah. So anyway, Sarah and I would go to the vape shop together, so her and I went, and I was telling her, I was like, yeah, I'm, like, not doing good at all.
Right.
And I was like, and I just said all the things that I did, and I was like, haven't showered in, like, 2 weeks. And, anyway, she just was like, you know, I'm here if you need me, whatever.
Right.
And she would, like, try to get me out of the house. She would talk to
Right.
me every single day and stuff. And that's why I'm, like, grateful for my friends, because they understand how I am, and
Right. And they check up on you.
they do too, yeah, for sure. So, like, something that helped me get out of that funk was, like, Destiny would FaceTime me every single day for that month. And because I told her it was a bad day, or just a bad month, really.
Right.
And she would FaceTime me every day and tell me to make my bed. And I did. And that, like, helped me get out of it and stuff like that. And then, I don't know, just eventually you kind of get out of it. Sometimes it's like, I don't know, like, I tell people this all the time when they're, like, having little moments. I'm like, it may just be a bad day. It may be a bad week. It may be a bad month or a bad year.
Right.
But it's not a bad life.
Exactly. You'll look back when you're out of it and you'll be like, it happened. I'm over it.
Yeah.
Just like a bad day at work, like I was saying the other week, like when I drive home or when I'm finally in bed, I'm like, it's over. I'm like, it's over and done. Drop it. Yep,
yeah.
I did it. It's over. It's done. It's in the past now.
Yeah.
So, like, don't try to, like, harbor on stuff and, like, well on it, because then you're feeding into it and then it's gonna stay along. Like, if you're having a bad month or whatever and you're just, like, letting it consume you, you're gonna have 2 bad months and then 3 bad months. And sometimes you can't help it or whatever. But, like, that's what, like, the CBT.
Cognitive behavioral therapy.
CBT helps a lot, because then you can, like, realize it, you can, like, let it through and stuff, and then try to, like, focus on, like, your friends, you reach out, you still went over, you were like, I'm gonna go over, instead of, like, cutting that off.
Right.
And, like, because then in, like, the back of your mind, you're like, if I go over, I'll see them, they'll help me.
Yeah.
Like, yeah.
And another thing too that we were talking about is, like, even the happiest people still have had bad mental health situations.
And I'm so glad, like, on social media, it's like, did you check up on your happy friend today?
Yeah, that's what I was just gonna say. Yeah,
and
check up on your happy friends, because even your happy friends get sad too.
Yeah, when I was a server at the last restaurant I worked at, there was, like, a dude who I became, like, close to or whatever, and, like, in his day-to-day life, he was, like, the happiest person. He did, not parkour, what was it called? It was, like, parkour. He did parkour. He was, like, gymnastics. He was, like, always cracking jokes. He was, like, a comedy queen. Straight guy. She was a comedy queen. He was always doing, like, impersonations and stuff, like voices and stuff, and he was, like, the happiest person. But then, like, as I got to know him and my friend got to know him or whatever, because they started dating and then broke up because he's crazy. Not really. But, like, he was so, like, depressed. He was, like, self-harm. He was, like borderline personality, like, disorder, like, multiple personalities. It's called something else now.
Schizophrenia?
No, like that movie Split, where you have multiple personalities.
It's just called multiple personality disorder.
Is it?
Yeah.
There was like a bad term for it that people were calling it. I can't remember. But he almost had that because he was like two different people sometimes, which also is like bipolar disorder. But he like got worse and worse and worse or whatever. As well, not he didn't get worse, but I saw more of him. If that makes sense.
Yeah.
Like he didn't change.
He just opened up.
Yeah, I just saw more of it. Like he was like 19. He was like drinking a lot. He was like doing, he was like smoking weed a lot, which isn't bad, but like for him, he probably should have been. And I just saw more and more of it. And he like, and then like I knew all of that. And then we would go to work together. We would hang out with other people. And then like I would see the happy side of him. And like normal, like nobody knew. Like whenever I told somebody about it or whatever, like who worked with us, they were like, no.
Yeah.
That's not possible. And I was like, yeah, it is.
When my mental health got really, really bad. This is like why like one of the people that I know, she's one of those types of people that I don't want to say doesn't believe in medication, but she believes that like more holistic things can work.
Yeah, because it's part of her personality, and it's also part of her generation.
Yeah,
in all
which
honesty.
is fine.
Because some people can do it.
Sometimes people can smell lavender essential oil 15 times a day instead of take medication for depression. Right. And if that works for them, fucking more power to you.
Right. Everybody's brain and body is different.
I'm so far gone.
Right.
That smelling lavender essential oil
isn't
not
gonna
do shit.
Right.
And I hate it when people are like, oh, just go exercise, just go do this. And it's like, I can do those things. And it really does boost my serotonin when I like go for a hike or something. And I'm like active because it gets your adrenaline going and it gets the serotonin releasing and stuff like that. And like those things do work. But just because I go to the gym every single day doesn't mean that I'm going to be happy for long term.
Right. Exactly.
So if I miss going to the gym one day, I'm going to be depressed again.
Exactly.
It's a temporary fix.
Right, for sure.
It's not a permanent solution.
Yeah, and people who like, and she like doesn't. I've like, when I remember talking to this person and like, she like didn't get it because like she didn't go through it. She doesn't go through it, so which is very valid.
And
like,
it's like I can't even hold it against her.
Exactly.
Because like my sister, for example, she's kind of one of those people that's like, well, just try to be happy. Like, just try to forget about it.
Yeah.
And it's like, I know that they're coming from a good place. I really do know that people like that are coming from a good place.
Because that's the only, like, place they can come from because they have no background.
Exactly. And so, as easy as it is to, like, tell them to fuck off, you have no idea what you're talking about. I used to be like that, but now I'm just like, oh yeah, maybe, yeah. And then I just like forget about what they said.
Exactly, because then you don't want to be like, oh, that doesn't work for me, and then get into the long conversation at like Starbucks.
Like what this is.
Yeah, right. You don't want to get into that because some days, like even like on low levels, like when people like, I'm like, for a scenario when I was like with my ex-husband or whatever, he like cheated on me with somebody he worked with, and then when I was working at the pho shop, like 2 years later, the mistress dude and his wife, shocker there, kept coming in. Like he came in like once a month or whatever, and those were like terrible days.
Yeah. Because
like that's like a shotgun to the chest of like 100%. Cheating, insecurities, like the
like
person
right as you forget about it.
Exactly, right there. And it's like that was not helping. It's like almost getting over like an addiction and then like once a month doing crack. Like that's not how that works.
Yeah.
So like when I was just serving or like bussing tables or whatever, and I'd like turn the corner and I'd see him, like that would be like, then I would be like my week's fucked.
Yeah.
Like this is terrible. And I would have to like, the first time I saw him, it was like such a bad day. Like I went into the freezer and I like started crying because like it was like, I would say it was like half a year later, and like it was like me trying to like work up and like live through it and like forget a lot of it, and then it just like brought back to zero.
Right, like
and I was like, this is terrible, like my life fucking sucks. And then like, and I realized like how good like everyone makes those jokes about like the front of the house in restaurants being like best friends with the back of the house, and it's so true.
It is very true.
So like when I went back into the fridge and stuff, and I was like crying and stuff, one of these guys, Jimmy, came back and was like, do you want me to fight him? Do you want me to go kick him out? And I was like, yes, no. But now it's not the right move. It's feeding the wrong like dog or whatever, like they say. And I was like, no. And then he just kept coming in, and like anxiety, like I couldn't, like I was like, I can't go out there. Right. I was like, I can't see him. I was like, he can't see me or whatever. And then eventually, like the 7th time he showed up or whatever, I was like, fuck it. Like why am I letting past trauma continue to hurt me when
And
he's
dictate your
when
life,
he's
yeah.
literally just sitting there with his wife. And I was like, first of all, he could stop coming
Yeah.
over, but like clearly can't change it, so why should I let it dictate? So I still had some anxiety. I couldn't serve him or whatever because that was still like touchy. Too much. Even now, like if he like came into like the place I work now, I'd be like, don't talk to me.
Yeah.
But then eventually like I got over it and stuff like that. Like I was like, don't let it like continually to consume you and affect you so much.
And so like what I was talking about, the holistic things,
Yeah.
right? So let me paint you a scenario that is a true scenario. So I was not on bipolar medication. At this point, I didn't know that I had it.
Right.
It made me do a lot of things that I'm not proud of.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of things that I've grown and things that I've apologized for.
Right.
But I was with my mom, and we were in her car, and she was driving, and it was a bad mental health day.
Mm-hmm.
And she said something that set me off, and she was driving, and I was literally like this far away from her face, screaming in her face. I was like punching her in the arm. I was pulling the steering wheel to wreck the car. And I was saying horrible things.
Right.
She slammed the car in park, kicked me out, and I didn't talk to her for like a month. And so when people are like, just go to the gym.
Yeah, you're like, clearly it's not strong enough.
Let me tell you, like, that situation is like, I don't talk about my mental health like this with people like that.
Yeah, because it's like going to the gym that morning would not have solved that problem.
No, not even a little bit. And so like maybe if I was just depressed or had anxiety and it was just that one thing, maybe going to the gym would help.
Yeah, because like it's little things for little things.
Exactly.
And big pills for big things.
Exactly.
And
so
stuff like that. Yeah, you can't like compare it.
Like my bipolar disorder is like up to here. And
it's really high if you don't see it.
Yeah. And the gym is like right here.
Right, like half, like not even half.
No.
Like, yeah.
So like.
And then it's like
almost,
also like if I don't want to get out of bed, what makes you think I want to go to a gym where I'll feel judged and feel more body dysmorphia?
And even then, if I were to tell somebody that, they'd be like, well, just go on a hiking trail by yourself. Dude, it's almost comical at that point. Because it's like, I really do appreciate what you're trying to do right now.
Yeah,
but
because you're trying your best. Yeah.
I've been struggling with mental health since I was 14 years old.
Don't you think I would have thought about that before?
I'm 23 now. That's 9 years.
Right.
In case you can't do math.
Right.
Okay. You don't think I've tried all that bullshit?
Literally.
Do you think if that worked,
I
would be on
medication?
pills?
Yeah.
Exactly. So it's just a naive way of thinking.
Yeah, and it's like in combination, maybe like pills, therapy, and hiking.
Maybe.
Because like it's like building blocks. Like pills are helping you to 50%.
Right.
Like hiking and therapy are the rest of the like whatever, maybe.
Right, yeah.
Who's to say? But then some people like, maybe when I go hiking, I don't want to be alone in the world. Like,
right.
Yeah, sometimes when I like go hiking, if I'm not in like the best set of mind, I'll be like sitting there and I'll be like, wow. I'm miles away from other humans. I feel terrible. Let me go back home.
Yeah.
Yeah, kind of thing. So, like, it's just the mentality days and stuff like that. Because if you're, like, you're hiking and you can't see another human, maybe that doesn't help your loneliness.
Yeah, exactly. I don't know. It's just, like, it's such, not a niche thing, but kind of.
But kind of because the people who go through it aren't really as vocal as the people who aren't going through it.
Right.
Yeah, and it's just, like... And everything works different for somebody.
Yeah.
Like every single person has a different combination, cocktail.
Yep. Figuring
it out.
And something too is like, because I know, like they told me, the doctor, psychiatrist told me I have clinical depression.
Right.
So, like, the anxiety might go away and that sort of thing, but the bipolar disorder and the depression is 100% probably going to stay for the rest of my life.
Yeah, because they're differences in the brain's
they're
like
chemical
makeup
imbalances.
Exactly. If like your body can't make or your brain can't make these certain like serotonin or epinephrine or whatever, like your body can't make those,
right,
then it won't go away.
Exactly. So Anyway, so like when I get into a relationship, I'm very upfront about it.
Oh, for sure.
Because a lot of people don't want to deal with it. And
exactly.
that's fine.
And that's fine. Yeah, you have to, because it's like if you like not hide it, but if you're not sharing your whole person.
Yeah. Which, granted, most times I wait a little bit.
Yeah, of course, because nobody wants to get hit on the first date with, I have clinical depression. I'm on 3 different kinds of pills.
Yeah, that's a little much.
And it's the same thing with like ex-marriages or like this and this and that and stuff like that. You're not going to shoot them with the first date, but like when you start like opening up, because then they're like, oh, I have an ex-wife, or oh, I have a kid. Like that's like second, third date kind of thing. Like, oh, I have mental health issues, or oh, I have done this or do that and stuff like that.
Like
you open up about it.
Usually how it
shouldn't
happens.
Hide it.
Yeah, usually how it happens is I have all my medication on my bedside table, so that way I remember to take it.
Right.
Because I literally, that is the first thing I do. I know you think I hit my vape first thing in the morning, but
you like take a pill and you like swallow it with vape.
Yeah, basically. But so it's all right there. So like if a guy is in my life that I'm seeing and talking to, and he comes over and he like comments on it and he's like, what is that? Then I will open up about it. But usually like if they don't bring it up, then like a month goes by and I'm like, look, just so you know, like I have mental health issues. I've struggled with it for a long time. I've been stable on my medication for almost 3 years.
Right.
And things are fine. However, there are still off days and bad days. Yeah. And it just, like, when I was talking to that one dude about it, he was asking me, like, what's one of the main things that you look for in a significant other? And it's patience, because I need that because of how I am and what I deal with and stuff like that.
Exactly.
And so if I don't get somebody with patience, the moment that I have a bad day, they're going to be like, oh, I can't deal with this.
Right. They'll be like,
it's just too much.
Right. It's too much. Oh, I can't be with you. So sad all the time.
Yeah.
And it's like, yeah, you have to find somebody who can balance with you or whatever. Because like if you're dealing with mental health and you're trying to date and stuff, you need someone who isn't like just as broken as you may be, because 2 broken people don't make a whole.
No, been there, done that.
Literally. And it's like you don't want to fix her either, because then it's because then they're like wanting to fix you and you're not broken.
No.
Like yeah, like I just did say like 2 broken people don't make a whole.
But no, I know
but
what you
fixers
mean.
don't fix people. You know what I
know exactly what
you
mean.
And all y'all know what I mean. Because you're not broken, it's just a figure of speech. Yeah.
Exactly. So like I was with somebody that was equally as broken as me, if not worse.
Right.
And it was just like fucking gasoline and fire, dude.
Literally.
It was bad. And then I was with somebody that was a fixer. Right. And so I would have a bad day. What do we need to do? Where do we need to go?
Right, because
what is it that you need? Which is sweet.
It's nice, yeah. You need somebody who does like the TikTok or whatever. Like, hey, babe, are you feeling okay? You haven't worn makeup in a day or 2 days.
I need more communication rather than fixing.
Yeah, more communication, patience, understanding.
The thing about people being like, "What can I do? What do you need?" Like, it's so like over the top.
That'll give me more anxiety.
Literally, and it's like, I don't know. That's the thing about mental health and depression and anxiety. You don't fucking know why you have it that day.
Yeah.
It's just a bad day.
Right.
That's all you can recognize is that it's a bad day. I don't fucking know what I need. Maybe I need to go to sleep and restart my day.
Right.
Maybe I need to go to sleep and fucking sleep for like 10 hours and wake up and it'll be fine. Yeah. Or maybe I need to like go out and do something. I don't know.
Right.
I don't know. But for right now, stop trying to like analyze me,
and just be
fix
with me
and just be with me in the moment, so I don't feel alone.
Exactly. Yeah, like if you see your significant other having like a bad day, go make them waffles or whatever, because on your bad day they'll do the same thing. Like it's balance, it's equal. Like you're not like there to help them. You're there to help each other. Right. Because, like, yeah, like, you could be in a relationship with no mental health issues, and then your girlfriend or boyfriend wakes up and they just are having a bad day. Everyone has off days. Right. Like, you help them on their off day, they help you on your off day. That's what relationships are. Right. It's, like, give and take or whatever.
Yeah. And something that, like, is what I need when I'm in a relationship is, like, if I'm having a bad mental health day or week or month, whatever, I just need you to be supportive, patient, and give me communication.
Exactly.
Because when I'm in those moods, I just want to vent, or I want to cry, or I want to be silent.
Right.
And I need somebody that's okay with all three of those.
Exactly.
So if I, like, that's why I love Sarah so much, because, like, I can vent and vent and vent to her,
Right.
or I can just, like, cry and cry and cry, or be silent, and she is okay with all three of those things.
Which is awesome.
And when I vent to her, she's like, I'm sorry, I'm here if you need me.
Right.
And it's just like, that's what I need.
Right.
She doesn't try to fucking fix me. She doesn't try to fucking do all that kind of bullshit. She doesn't try to give me suggestions, because she knows I've tried all those things before.
Exactly. And, like, when somebody wants to vent to you, you have to read the room.
Read the fucking room. We should get that on a shirt.
Honestly, yeah, this should be on our merch, yeah. Because sometimes when you are venting, you want somebody's feedback and stuff. Like, if you have, like, an issue and stuff, like, you're like, hey, I'm having a bad day, or hey, my work was crap, can I tell you about it? You just have to read the room. Like, if they're talking from, ew, did you just pull that out of your hair?
Yeah.
Or your head?
Yeah.
Sometimes somebody just needs to vent, and they just want to get it off their chest. They don't want to hear anything. They don't want any advice. They don't want anything. They just want to get it out into the world. And
So it's not consuming their mind.
Exactly. And then sometimes they do want, like, feedback. Like, they want to have a conversation more than venting. You just have to know the person. You have to read the room and, like, read the conversation. If, like, they're venting to you and you're making suggestions and the conversation isn't going towards the way of the suggestions, they don't want suggestions.
Yes.
They just want to talk.
100%.
And if they're, like, giving you feedback on suggestions and then you're giving suggestions and feedback, then they want to have a conversation. Venting style, you just have to know the person. You just have to know the situation. Common sense. Read the room.
Anyways.
Right.
Are we done?
I think we are. That was a good episode about
really
mental health. Yeah.
It was a more serious episode,
Yeah.
but it felt good to talk about because it's something I'm really passionate about.
Exactly. Same. And like, if you need help, reach out to anybody. Reach out to us.
100%.
Email us if you feel like it. Yeah. Because, yeah, like, even...
DM us on Instagram.
Exactly, yeah, because I've seen people, like, post on, like, YouTube videos where they'll message, like, a famous person, or they'll message, like, or, like, fan mail of, like, hey, you're, like, to Sam Smith or whatever, for instance. They'll message him or write him, like, a fan mail, and they'll be like, hey, your music really got me through my last breakup. Like, I thought I was really down and stuff, and then listening to you realizes I'm not the only one going through all this stuff. And it's just, like, even just sending that fan mail out to never be read helps a lot.
Right.
And it's just, like, yeah, reach out to anybody, whoever you want.
And if you are going through mental health stuff, you're not alone, people.
Isn't it like...
I'm right there with you.
Right? It was like Winston Churchill or whatever. He says, if you're going through hell, keep going.
Yeah. If you're going through hell...
Is that a song?
Keep on going, don't slow down.
Yeah, I think that's a Winston Churchill quote, but also that song. So yeah, if you're going through hell or going through anything, keep going.
There are brighter days ahead, I promise you.
100%.
1,000%.
1 month away, 1 year away, it's coming.
It's coming. Keep your head up. Stay positive. And I hope we gave you some good outlooks.
Same. Hope we gave you some good advice, helped you through with our stories and our trauma.
Part 2 of relationship aspects
is coming. Yes, I'll probably post it today because I am off. I've just been lazy.
So that'll get posted, and this should be up next week.
Probably on Tuesday. I'll probably try to keep it like to a schedule, actually.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you guys for listening. Thank you guys for tuning in.
We'll talk to you later. Bye.
Bye.